All right, hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin. I am your host, Vays, coming to you live on this Thanksgiving. Hope everyone is enjoying time with family. Started the stream way too late. Maybe on the West Coast, people aren't with family. Welcome. People aren't with family yet. So we're gonna go straight to the charts. I'm gonna do a very quick overview of the charts, and then I want to talk about GBTC and Grayscale and what we know so far, because a lot of stuff is going to go down on Monday, and I don't know if I'll be doing videos the rest of the weekend, so I'm just not sure. It's kind of random now. So let's go to the charts. We'll take a quick peek, and then I'm going to try to do a 5-minute overview on what I know about the current situation and my thoughts on it. Okay. Monthly chart has not changed at all. Not going to comment. Weekly chart has also not changed at all. I really like the CMF and where the CMF is headed. The other oscillators are also slightly bullish. We have a price target on the weekly price chart, sending us back down to the $11,000 area. The oscillators are currently bullish. I don't like this double bottom at all on a short-term perspective. On a long-term perspective, it's not really a double bottom, but on a short-term perspective, it is. So I am, slightly leaning bearish here, even though Bitcoin's fundamentals are great. The allocation chart, I am not interested in this until we break the prior candle's high. Though the prior candle's high is about to be a lot lower, but I'm going to leave this line at the last candle's high, and let's see what happens next candle. Daily chart. Daily chart gave us this bearish pennant, which broke down, but we have since then reversed. So far, so good, but until this chart at least breaks the 50-period moving average, there is nothing to be excited about here whatsoever. More specifically, let's look at the funding rate. I really like this funding rate crash. Usually this leads to a nice reversal in price, but that has not happened yet. So we will take a wait and see approach. Let me get back to this price action here. I did an audio podcast the other day. It'll be released in a week or two. I couldn't talk about specifics. I had to talk about more general because I can't talk about specific price if it's going to get released a couple of weeks later. So the question was, when am I confident the trend has changed and we are now bullish? That answer is when we break a prior swing high. Next question, where is the prior swing high? Well, we have 3 choices. We have one right here at $21,500. We have one right here. Okay, let me give dates to this, because I know I have a friend who is blind that listens to this channel. Ray, shout out to you. Thanks for being a big supporter. So we have a previous high in early November 2022 of $21,500. The prior high to that is mid-September 2022 at $22,500. And the prior high to that is mid-August at $25,000. So I want to see Bitcoin break the prior swing high and then pull back to no lower than 19,000, reverse from 19,000, and start to challenge that new swing high. Now, at a minimum, I will take the break of 21,500 by at least $500. So that means a move back to this MRI resistance line at 22.5 to 23,000. A move to that area, followed by, but we don't have to pull back, guys. We can get to this area and keep going. But everything is an if then, okay? I want to see a move to just under 23. If we get rejected, we need to hold 19,000 on the rejection. And then we need to come back and start to challenge 23,000 again. That tells me with about 95 to 98% certainty, the bull market has begun. Until we get that situation, I don't have a 95% certainty that the bull market has begun. Another scenario is if we crash down to 11,000 or lower. I believe the bull market will begin immediately after that because I just don't believe Bitcoin can go any lower than that. So those are my two alternate scenarios, okay? Also, if we move back to 23,000, we would break all three of my critical moving averages on the daily chart, which is the 50, the 128, and the 200. And we're not going to get there tomorrow. So we're probably going to get there at the end of the year or early next year. So that means we would break all these moving averages. And on the pullback, we would hold one of them. Okay, maybe multiples at the same time. Okay, that's the chart. This looks bullish to me on the hourly chart, but I don't want to waste my time talking about it. How many live viewers do we have this Thanksgiving? Oh, over 200, not bad. GBTC Premium closed the short week at 39. The markets will open on Friday for a half day, but there's never any volume on that day. Oil, surprisingly, looks very bearish. Let's see what happens into year end. I still think oil is gonna have some massive upside soon. Gold is being I don't care about gold. The S&P 500 rallied at the end of the day on Wednesday. And we are sitting right at the resistance line. This resistance line is very, very important. Everything I said for the Bitcoin applies to the S&P 500. If we look at the S&P 500, you have 1, 2, 3 lower lows. Well, sorry, let's recap. Pullback, 1 lower low, second lower low. You have 2 lower lows. You have 1, 2, and potentially a third lower high. The market also has to reverse and break the prior swing high, pull back and not break the prior swing low, and then reverse and challenge the prior swing high. The stock market, just like Bitcoin, is at least a few months away from like maybe even 5 months away or 6 months away from completing that structure. So we wait and see how this is going to play out. Okay. Correlation chart, stock market's rising, Bitcoin is consolidating at the lows. That's not good. I took a look at the euro. The euro has pulled back to a very critical level. It can go a little bit higher based on the MRI, but I think this is it. I think starting in December, the euro and the British pound are going to go towards the toilet and break the new lows. Everyone kept asking me about the US dollar. The US dollar, I projected the US dollar to pull back to the prior swing high. I projected this a long time ago, over a month ago, and off of this MRI top, beautiful monthly MRI top, doesn't get better than that. Sorry, weekly MRI top. How is it on the monthly? On a monthly, we're still actually bullish, but next month it's going to flip. But on the weekly, we have this beautiful MRI weekly top. We have now gone further than a 4-candle correction, and therefore the euro and the pound could strengthen for another 3 weeks or so, and then they're going to reach bottom, and then they're going to reverse. So this arrow was probably a little too drawn out. I'm going to leave the same price target, but I'm going to shorten the time target. Okay. Politics. I'm waiting on the last 2 members of U.S. House to be decided. The runoff election for Georgia is going to take place on December 6th. So we got about 2 weeks to go until we find out who's the senator in Georgia. I am, of course, a big fan of Herschel Walker. I was a big fan of his when he was playing football, and then when he was fighting, and now running for office. A few more have been decided. There's only 2 races that have not been decided. One is in California, with the Republican leading by 0.4%, with 99 votes counted. And one is in Colorado, leading by only 0.2%. Wow. With 99 votes counted. So let's see. Hopefully they announce these soon and put all of us out of our misery, and I can then close this page. The FOMC minutes came out. The Fed is not as bullish, sorry, it's not as hawkish as people expected, and that helped the market rise a little bit. Other metrics were good, except for initial claims. But the Fed loves the fact that there is higher unemployment, because that means that inflation could end sooner. So there you go. Another data point has come out on how much oil is being siphoned off by the current left administration of the US government, and they have siphoned off an additional 2 million barrels of oil. But we are now down to 390 million barrels in the US Strategic Oil Reserve that is used for emergencies only. But winning an election is clearly an emergency. So this is why this chart looks like the chart of the FTX token. All right. Nothing else to say other than let's talk about Grayscale and all of that. Now, I'm going to try to summarize everything in 2 minutes. The reason I want to try to summarize everything in 2 minutes is because I then want to make a short video, maybe tomorrow morning, and post it to Twitter as like a 2-minute brief on all my views. Also, if you look at the video description, it kind of gives you my thoughts. So how the hell am I going to do this in 2 minutes? I am not sure, but I am going to open my phone to some kind of timer, which I don't have, actually. So I'm just going to, what the hell is my phone downloading? It's downloading something. I have no idea what it is. Anyway, so I'm going to just keep an eye on the clock on my phone, and I'm going to try to get this done in 2 minutes. So before I do that, let me open this, and then I'm going to cut screen share. Then I'm going to go back to screen share. What? Fabio writes, the screen share video seems to be at least 10 seconds delayed. That's weird. I have no idea, but I stopped screen share. I'm going to start back up, so hopefully it'll be in sync. Not sure what that means. And then I'm going to try to get to a couple of your questions. Moderators, please post any questions people have. All right, and shoot, 2 minutes, here we go. All right, here are my thoughts on what's going on with the digital currency group, the parent company of a bunch of other companies that are in trouble due to the FTX Ponzi realization. Let's go to screen share real quick and cover it. So what you're looking at here is the company structure of Digital Currency Group, known as DCG. DCG owns three main subsidiaries. They own Genesis Global Trading, they own Grayscale, and also companies like CoinDesk and Foundry, even though I'm not really sure what Foundry is. Genesis Global, I guess, is more subdivided into Genesis Capital and Grayscale. Now, the important thing about Grayscale is that Grayscale has the Bitcoin Trust and a bunch of other trusts, and they are responsible for creating GBTC shares. Here's the unreasonably complicated relationship between all of these companies, including FTX, and how shit gets leveraged all around. We are not going to get into this chart because it is absolutely insane. Next, I want to talk about the ramifications of what is happening. So Grayscale has all of these trusts. They are basically trusts of outright scams and unlicensed securities. Notice Ripple is no longer here because they had to delist it because Ripple is being accused of being a security, and the rest are actually even worse. The only thing here that is legitimate is the Bitcoin Trust. You can see how much money the Bitcoin Trust has, and it is $10 billion worth of Bitcoin that is being held in Coinbase custody. That was the big concern, whether the Bitcoin is actually backing GBTC. And somebody on Twitter did a very nice forensic analysis and determined that Coinbase Custody does actually have all the Bitcoin from Grayscale backing GBTC. So keep that in mind. Okay, so it looks like the Bitcoin is there, but it's not official. This is unofficial. Okay, so you can read over this thread on your own. It's not really linked to the video description, but you guys are resourceful. Go ahead and find it. Now, the issues happened when, let's go back in time a little bit. There's no way I can do this in 2 minutes. This is so super unfortunate. So a year ago, Three Arrows Capital was holding 39 million shares of GBTC. BlockFi was holding 36 million shares of GBTC. Both of these companies have completely imploded. Three Arrows Capital just went belly up, and BlockFi, I believe, got bailed out by FTX, which turned out to be a Ponzi, so there was never a bailout. DCG was only holding 12 million shares. Today, DCG is holding 66 million shares, and these two are holding 0. So DCG went out and bought 50 million shares, which cost them over $500,000. Where did DCG get the money to do this? Well, potentially, they actually borrowed $557 million from Genesis. Here's where the problem comes in. Genesis also lent money like a drunken sailor to companies like Three Arrows Capital and other Ponzi schemes, including FTX. And now that these companies have gone belly up, Genesis is completely insolvent. So if we go back to this chart right here, Genesis is about to go belly up unless someone wants to bail them out. Grayscale ain't gonna bail them out again. They already bailed them out for $1 billion after the Three Arrows Capital screw up, and they're not going to do it again. They used in fact, they borrowed money from Genesis to probably, and this is my suspicion, to buy GBTC shares and try to support the premium, even though they did a piss poor job supporting that premium, which ultimately went to negative 45%, more like a discount. But at least they prevented it from going down to 75% discount. But if Genesis goes belly up and there is lawsuits against Digital Currency Group, they may be forced to liquidate whatever assets they have. And those assets have now include 66 million GBTC shares. So if DCG is forced to sell 50 million of these shares, I can almost promise you that this GBTC discount is going to go lower and way lower and lower still. But if it's fully backed, then smart people should be buying it up, because eventually it's going to go back to par, but no one has the money to buy it up. And no one wants to buy it if they think Bitcoin is going to go down in price. They think they can get it a lot cheaper. I still hold GBTC And I think that it's gonna go back and remove that discount. Yeah, there's no way I'm doing this in 2 minutes. What the hell was I smoking? So here is the Bitcoin backing GBTC in Bitcoin Trust. Now, what you have to understand is there's a slight difference between the Bitcoin Trust and GBTC shares, as I've explained on many spaces. The Grayscale trusts are like the song Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave. You can enter the Bitcoin Trust by giving Barry Silbert money within Grayscale, and they go and buy Bitcoin. You can then leave your investment out of the Bitcoin Trust after a 6-month lockup, but your Bitcoin will never leave the Bitcoin Trust. They are inside that trust forever. So we can look at this chart right here. You can see how this chart ends in the beginning of 2021. And if we compare that to the GBTC discount / premium, when did this premium hit 0? So I'm going to draw a random line, and I'm going to double click on this line so that there it is. I'm going to go to coordinates. Wow, that's pretty damn close to 0. Good, random job. I'm going to put a 0 here. I'm going to put a 0 here. And now you have a line at exactly 0. When did this happen? Oh, looky here. That happened in February of 2021. So if we go to this right here, thank you, CoinGlass, for getting this out. Right there is probably February of 2021. Look how much Bitcoin was being bought up by companies like BlockFi and Three Arrows Capital and anyone else. They were buying into the trust, they were holding it for 6 months, and then they were selling it for a premium until the premium dropped below 0. Once that happened, not a single person with smart person would ever buy into the trust again. Why would you buy Bitcoin at par price and then sell it at a discount 6 months later? Nobody would do that. Though the question is, why is this line going down? The reason why this line is going down is because every year or every single day on a prorated basis, Grayscale gets to sell 2% of all the Bitcoin they are holding to manage the trust. It really should explain that right here. You have to take a look at the prospectus of the Bitcoin Trust, and it will clearly tell you how much it costs. It costs 2%. That's an annual fee. You take 2%, you divide it by 365, and you find out what percentage of this amount Grayscale is selling every single day on the open market. Now, once again, we have to go back to this awesome chart. Right here, Grayscale is buying up twice the average mineable supply of Bitcoin in circulation, helping to push Bitcoin from $10,000 to $65,000. Okay. Now, once they stop buying, suddenly this force that was buying 2x the amount of mined Bitcoin every single day is now selling a little bit of Bitcoin every single day to the tune of 2,000 Bitcoin per year. But they're selling it on a daily basis. And by the end of the year, it comes out to about 2,000 Bitcoin or whatever, 2% of 635,000 Bitcoin is. Okay, this used to be closer to 650, and now it's closer to 635. So this is a very profitable business. Imagine you selling 2% of over 600,000 Bitcoin and collecting the cash. So Grayscale couldn't care less if you have a discount or a premium on GBTC. They're selling the underlying Bitcoin. If it ever becomes a premium, people will buy into the trust. They get to hold more Bitcoin. They get to sell more Bitcoin on an annual basis to make money. So I personally don't believe that Digital Currency Group has broken many laws. That's my non-professional, not lawyer opinion. So if Genesis Global goes belly up and Digital Currency Group is getting sued to shit, they may be forced to liquidate GBTC, but I don't think they've broken too many laws. Now, if they did break some laws and this company goes belly up, somebody's going to go and buy Grayscale, or, Barry Silbert would be removed and new management would come in. And then they would get the profit from selling those 2,000 Bitcoin. Now, there is nothing they can do to fix the premium because this is not an ETF. And, I found this paper. If you want to know why this is not an ETF, the SEC has come out and published a paper 6 months ago explaining why the ETF was rejected. And if you look at page 22, it's very, very telling. Again, this is not in the video description. Guys, please be resourceful and find this on your own. If I can find it in 3 minutes, because I Googled for it, I'm sure you guys can do the same. On page 22, it explains it right here, the 5 points. 7 points, sorry. I don't necessarily agree with this assessment, but this is what the SEC said. We can dive into this at a future video. All you got to do is look at the title of this, and you should be able to Google for it and go ahead and find it as to why it's not an ETF. What else do I have over here? Nope, I covered that. I covered that. I covered that. Oh, yeah. No, and I covered that. Now, there is an additional 1 billion, which is freaking weird. It's there's a couple of things that are weird. Okay. Silbert, this is a Bloomberg article titled Genesis Balance Sheet Reveals Web of Loans Across Silbert's Empire. Silbert noted that DCG has a liability of 575 million to Genesis. I am assuming this is what allowed them to purchase so many GBTC shares. Just my guess. In that letter, he also described a 1.1 billion promissory note due on June 2032. Now, what I don't understand is, which he said came about as the parent company stepped in to assume liabilities from Genesis related to implosion of digital asset hedge fund Three Arrows Capital. What this sounds to me is that Genesis owes DCG $1.1 billion. But in a recent Spaces, it was explained that somehow DCG, which is the parent company, owes 1.1 billion to Genesis. This article makes it sound like it's the other way around. I am a little bit confused. Now, if 1.1 billion is owed by Genesis to DCG, bye-bye, they're never going to see that money again because Genesis is completely illiquid and no one's going to bail them out and no one's going to pay back the 1.1 billion. If the situation is reversed and DCG owes 1.1 billion to Genesis, well, DCG is in luck because Genesis will not exist as of next week. Now, if another company bails out Genesis, then DCG suddenly owes $1.1 billion to whoever bails out Genesis, whether that's hopefully Fidelity is not that stupid, but Binance might be. So we will find out. Now, will DCG have $1.1 billion by June 2023? Well, thanks to selling all that Bitcoin in Bitcoin Trust, they might. However, I don't believe that they will because everything else on this list is outright garbage. And this garbage is going to lead to many, many problems for Grayscale, the company, because they are probably participating in illegal securities on illegal securities. So we will see if there are legal ramifications for it. Now, the other problem is that the leader of this stupidity is Barry Silbert, who is a shitcoiner beyond shitcoiners, just like Brian Armstrong. Therefore, he doesn't actually understand why he is making all of this money from Bitcoin, because he believes in shitcoins to the point of taking over Zcash completely and taking over Ethereum Classic completely. Those investments are ill-advised, to say the least. So I don't believe that DCG actually knows what they're doing. And the only reason why this company is making any money is because of people bought into the trust. And if that premium never goes above zero, and I hope that it never goes above zero, I hope that it gets to zero and never goes above, so that nobody ever buys into the Grayscale trust ever again, and Barry Silbert doesn't get to make any more money to make any more stupid decisions like creating a trust for Decentraland. Good Lord. Or B-Trash, or really basic attention token. My God. All right. I'm sure there was Luna on this list, which imploded. I wish he posted the ones that have completely imploded. I think there was Luna. I'm not sure. I know there was Ripple. Anyway, let's move on from this stupidity. I think that is it. I'm not sure what else to add on this. Hopefully there's been some good comments while I've been ranting. I actually thought I can do this in 2 minutes, but clearly that took about 12 or 22. So that's kind of it as it stands. Hope I covered everything. I'm gonna leave this one up. Moderators, let me read some questions and some comments, and then we go from there. Brian K, happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Thank you for your generous donation. What bothers me a bit is that Bolt 12 isn't implemented in LND. Yeah, this is a little bit beyond my current technical. Look, most of my free time is being spent on geopolitics and like the Russia-Ukraine stuff. And every time I want to, dive a little bit into the Bitcoin technology, I get, FTX collapsing and GBTC imploding. So my concentration has been more on the financial side of Bitcoin and geopolitics, and not really on the development and the latest technological updates within the Lightning Network. So I don't really have a good comment. Lightning Labs seems to prefer solutions on an application level and not in the Lightning code itself. Again, I'm not knowledgeable enough to comment on this one. I wish I was still, well, if we were doing shows with Jimmy Song again, he would enlighten us. Next, Tone, about 54,000 Bitcoin are created every, what? 54,000 Bitcoin are created every month. How can lending interest work if the total monthly Bitcoin inflow is so low? What? I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. The only Bitcoin that get created every month are the mined Bitcoin. And we can do the math. It's 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So you times that by 6. 6 times 6 is 36, plus 1 is 37.5. You have 37.5 Bitcoins an hour, 24 hours in a day. Multiply that by 24. Maybe it is 54,000. I got to do some live math here. Or I can just Google it, right? How many Bitcoins get created per month? I mean, look, I can do the math, right? But how many Bitcoins are there calculating supply? No, that's not helping. How many Bitcoins are generated per day? There you go. 900 Bitcoins are mined every single day. So you multiply that by 30, 900 times 30, that's 9,000 times 3. 9 times 3 is 27. So your number is off a little bit. Yeah, that's a lot of Bitcoin gets created every month. You're right. I mean, assuming this number, I got to do my own math. Calculator. What was the calculator? I misspelled that. Calculator. Let's do, we have 6.25 times 10. No, not 10. Times, or I go back. I don't want to delete the whole thing. It's good. That's how many get created every 10 minutes. So I times that by 6, and that's how many get created every hour in 60 minutes. That's per hour. you multiply that by 24 hours in a day, and you multiply that by 24 hours in a day, and you multiply that by 30 days. What do we have? We have 27,000 Bitcoin. Okay, so you were only, I think my math's correct. So we are creating 27,000 Bitcoin every month. Okay, what's the problem? I don't understand your question at all, Fabio. There's no Ponzi here. But at least we know how many Bitcoins are being created every single day. Every single month, sorry. So it's 27,000, and if I multiply that by 12 months a year, even though there is a little more days than that in the year, I should have just multiplied it by 365. So 324,000 Bitcoin will be created this year. Next. Tone, I knew you are one of the few who is still bullish on the S&P. However, if you were in a situation where you weren't bullish on the S&P, would you still be bullish on Bitcoin in this environment? The answer is yes. I am bullish on Bitcoin in this environment because the halving is coming next year, and the hype is going to take over sometime next year. I'm certainly expecting a bull market. If they get 2% annual fee of the Bitcoin, why wouldn't they even want to convert to an ETF? It's not up to them. Why would they even want to convert to an ETF? There's earning a good amount now. Well, I'll tell you why. Because eventually an ETF is coming. And if someone else gets to create an ETF, then they lose the advantage of being, of making more money in the future. So they are trying to convert to an ETF so that they are the leading ETF. They want to be the first ETF, and they want to be the only ETF, at least the only ETF for a while, or at least the only ETF long enough to by itself in order to make additional money and have a monopoly on the Bitcoin ETF, kind of like SPX is a bit of a sorry, not SPS. SPY is a little bit of a monopoly on the S&P ETF, and GLD is a bit of a monopoly on the gold ETF because they were the first and they were the best, and everyone just, you know, like it's hard to beat the incumbent, right? Next, man, I really have to get off the stream because I'm actually expecting someone in 2 minutes if they're not late. This whole mess is exactly why I buy Bitcoins and have them sent in my node. Yeah, I agree with you, Agartha. Thanks for sticking around and continuing to watch. Would you buy more GBTC shares? Well, that is a very tough question. That I probably look. I think that GBTC has a good risk reward. I can't tell you what to buy and what not to buy. I can only tell you that I am still holding GBTC, and I believe GBTC is going to go back to zero. Do I think there are potentially better opportunities by a more distressed asset? And we're going to go to my favorite stock, Bitfarms. Okay, Bitfarms is my favorite miner, and if you look at Bitfarms, you know, I haven't bought into this yet. I've just been so busy. It was at 55 cents, and now it's at 62 cents. I just think that there is, if you are looking for a risky leveraged Bitcoin trade that is significantly more risky than simply buying unleveraged Bitcoin and moving it off chain into cold storage, if you are looking for a risky leveraged bet, one option is GBTC, and the other option is Bitcoin miners, which have been absolutely decimated. And on the Bitcoin miners, my favorite miner out of all of them is Bitfarms. Does that mean that I have an insider knowledge of Bitfarms? No, it doesn't. Can Bitfarms file Chapter 11 bankruptcy and go to zero tomorrow? Yes, it can. But this is the risk-reward scenario. It has a lot more upside by percentage, and it also has more risk, even at a 62-cent stock. Now, keep in mind, the hash rate is going through the roof, and it is very likely that this hash rate is going through the roof due to state actors. And if countries like probably the Middle East and potentially countries like Russia start to mine Bitcoin with unlimited government printed money, that could be the end for the private sector Bitcoin miners, because they can't compete with an entity that has the ability to print money until that money implodes. So there is another risk to buying a Bitcoin miner, because if the hash rate goes up, by the time the Bitcoin price turns around, a company like Bitfarms will not be able to mine as much Bitcoin because they are competing with state actors that are able to print money at will. Now, keep in mind, a country like Dubai, sorry, Dubai is a city, a country and an emirate, a country like the UAE, whose currency is pegged to the dollar. I'm not exactly sure why they have a central bank, but they do, but they're not able to print money at will. But as a country, they're able to borrow money at will. So if the private miners have to compete with governments mining Bitcoin, that's going to be a huge challenge for the private sector. Huge, 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 because the private sector cannot print money at will. This is why hopefully the money will collapse and the government will not be able to print Bitcoin, mine Bitcoin by printing money. So the sooner the fiat system collapses, like the euro, like the dollar, like the rest of them, the sooner capitalism can allow private companies to mine Bitcoin instead of state actors. Hopefully that answers that question. All right, guys, I do need to get going. But thank you so much for watching, guys. And I will see you all on the next one. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for sticking around in the chat. We have almost 400 people now. I want to talk about Litecoin. We'll say that for next time. We're going to talk about why the halving in Litecoin is actually a bad thing, and the fact that the price went up is actually meaningless. All right. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all on the next one. Bye, guys.